Pranav Haldea joins us, Managing Director, Prime Database, and let's take the conversation forward. Pranav, must say good to have you. I mean, I've had the pleasure of interacting with your dad as a cub reporter. So first time I'm interacting with you, so nice to have you. Pranav, what's your understanding of what is happening in the IPO market? I mean, is this one of those phases where everything in the IPO market suddenly is getting sold? I mean, is this a typical boom in the IPO market? What to your mind is the standout feature of 2023 IPO market?
Well, so to answer your first question, if you look at the data historically for the last 20, 30 years, you always find that primary market activity follows bullish secondary markets. And this is what you've seen since March, when secondary markets, now they're hitting all-time highs. You always find that primary market activity picks up with a 2-3 month lag after the secondary market picks up. And you've seen a lot of IPOs, hitting the street since June, July of this year, continuing all the way till November. Now, as far as 2023 is concerned, I think for me, there have been 2-3 standout features. One is that this is actually, after 8 years, you've seen the most amount of fresh capital being raised. So this year, out of the total cumulative IPO amount, nearly 42% is fresh capital and the balance 58 is off of sale. This is in stark contrast over the last 3-4 years where you had 80-85% or even 90% of the money being raised, primarily being an offer for sale, which is money which goes to the promoters or private equity and venture capital investors. So I think that's a positive sign. The second standout factor has been that it has been very broad-based in terms of sectors as well. So again, unlike previous years, which have been dominated by BFSI, banking, financial, insurance companies, this year you've seen companies across the board, and especially manufacturing. So that's been the second part. And the third point has been in terms of the size of the issues. Just to give you some historical data, from about 1,800 crores of an average issue size in 2021, this year the average issue amount has been about 900 crores. So you are seeing smaller companies coming to the market, which again I think is a very positive sign. These companies typically have had investors, private equity and venture capital investors who've invested 5-6 years back and are looking at exits. I think for the entire overall capital market ecosystem, it's a very positive sign.
Pranav, but it's often said that when you see this kind of an action in the primary market, and then have been several instances in last 20 years, both of us have seen, the end game unfortunately coincides with a market top. So typically, let's say when you saw this kind of an excitement in 2017 or 2008, unfortunately that is an indication of market top. Excitement in primary market always coincides with a market top in secondary market.
Well, yes. In fact, even if you look at 2021, you saw something similar. I think typically in a IPO cycle, you do find towards the end of IPO cycle, you find valuations being slightly stretched, which is what you've seen in 2021, in 2017, in 2008 as well, as you mentioned. However, I would like to say that I think this time you are seeing good quality companies, well-governed companies, and I think valuations have also been fairly reasonable. So let's hope for the best.
Yes, indeed. And Pranav, you also spoke of how there have been a number of small companies as well that have been coming out with their IPOs. And just going by some of the names, there was Fedbank Financial, Flair Writing, Gandhagar Refining, etc. I just want to understand how critical is the pricing in terms of the subscription decision for a lot of these IPOs?
Well, pricing, of course, is extremely important. For any IPO, I say that, there are two aspects which investors need to judge. One is, of course, the quality of the company, and the second is the valuation. So when you talk of the quality of the company, you need to look at who are the promoters, how is the corporate governance, how has the company performed over the last 3 to 4 years in terms of revenues and profitability. Do they have, institutional investors who have invested in them? How is their board? How is the sector doing? And as far as valuation is concerned, you need to look at, if there are companies in already listed space of the peer group of the company. What is their valuation and how does that compare with the valuation of the company which is coming out with an IPO? If, of course, it becomes very tricky, which you saw in 2021 as well, with all the new age technology companies which hit the market, because there was no peer which was already listed. But that is something which, of course, investors need to look at. Typically, you also find that in a market such as this, in a bullish secondary market, there is a good chance of a positive listing. In fact, the data which was being shown earlier also has shown that in 2023, most of the IPOs have given a positive return on listing, which is a typical case in a bullish market. So to answer your question, of course, valuation is something which is important, and investors, I think, have also become fairly discerning. Retail investors should also take cue from how qualified institutional buyers and anchor investors and how they are coming in, how they are participating in the issue. That gives a sense on the pricing as well.
Prime Database Group talking about the gush of IPOs. And Pranav, I just wanted to understand, given that there has been an IPO frenzy in the year 2023, what's the sense that you're getting going into the coming years? Do you believe that this is only going to continue or even accelerate?
Well, a couple of factors. One, of course, is the impending results of elections, the state elections first, and of course the next general elections. If we look at the data for the last 25 years, we've seen actually that for the 4 to 5 months preceding general elections, it's been generally an extremely dry spell for the primary market. Of course, the pipeline is there of companies. As we sit right now, there are about 31 companies which have SEBI approval, which are looking to raise close to 35,000 crores. Another 35 companies which have filed with SEBI for approval, which are looking to raise around 40,000 crores. There has also been a pickup in filing in the last few months. In fact, in October, you saw as many as 16 companies file their DRHP with SEBI for approval. But so election is of course one factor. The other factor, which also historically, which we've seen, is that it doesn't take too much for the pipeline to vanish. And of course, that depends on how the secondary market behaves. In case, for any reason, if you find a correction in the secondary market, you will find companies kind of pausing or holding back their IPO plans. In fact, in calendar year 2023 alone, you had as many as 32 companies, which were looking to raise close to 60,000 crores, not eventually launching their IPO. Now, of course, you would say that, look, the market was great. Why didn't they, launch their IPO? So, of course, there can be, valuation concerns. And, for a company, an IPO is a once-in-a-lifetime event. And they would want to launch, their IPO when conditions are perfect for them. So, that's again a regular feature that you see in any IPO cycle.
Pranav, great to have you on the show today. Thank you so much for taking the time out and speaking with us. And here's, as promised, the exclusive interaction.